Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. I'm here, your mental wellness warrior from the Mental Health Warriors from Barrie, Ontario. And today, our topic is social anxiety. And I'm really looking forward to sharing about this topic. I have not covered this topic before, and I have two amazing guests, Nance and Nick Reynolds, and they're going to share with you all about who they are, what they do, and a little bit about how social anxiety affected them in their lives and how they can give us some feedback on how they overcame some of their anxieties and what they do to manage it today. Myself, I'll have to dig deep to think about my social anxieties, but I'll have some stories to share as well. So, welcome all viewers who are currently watching, and welcome viewers who are watching this later when it's from the recording. And without any further delay, I will begin our intro, and then I'll have our guests in. And welcome back. Hello, Nancy. How are you? You're on mute. Oh, we lost Nancy. She'll be back.
She'll be back.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Oh, hi, Annette. I'm well, thanks. And yeah, good to be on the show. Good to be here.
Thank you for joining me. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what is at Secret Influence?
Yes, well, so certainly the topic here, social anxiety, I can very much resonate personally, and I was sharing more about that. So Secret Influence, that's my brand, and why Secret Influence? Well, so my background is working in communications for charities, and I worked in marketing and internal communications. So I was very fortunate to work in charities around health, mental health, and social care, which is very much aligned with charity work that very much I'm passionate about a subject. So I was very lucky to work in that area for many years. Then after a few redundancies, I started to work for myself and set up a Secret Influence brand, because I very much think that you have to be able to have impact and be able to have influence others in life to have the success you want, whether it's in a career or business or relationships. You have to positively have it influence others. And so I wrote a book about that, and then that's what my business is. I've got social media. I've got a YouTube channel, Secret Influence TV. I've written a few books around this. And yes, my business is copywriting and helping a lot of the work, mostly small business, a lot of coaches, consultants help build their brand. So that's what I do. And back to you.
And you're based out of London, England, right?
I am. Yes. I live in London. Lived here most of my life. I consider myself a Londoner. I wasn't born here.
Oh, nice. Well, one day I'll have to get out there and visit England. Adam, our founder, he's always asking me, when are you coming to England? And I'm like,
oh, yes.
I'm working on it.
Good old tour.
Welcome back, Nancy. She's from Exceptional.
Thank you.
How do you say that? Exponential Joy.
You got it. Exponential.
Nice. So
exponential is when you take
Nancy.
something and multiply it. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So I'm just down the road from you and a few thousand miles away. So exponential is when you multiply something. itself 10 times. So what I help people understand is their emotions, where their state of mind is, where they want their state of mind to be. And I tap into the power of where they are now so that they are able to focus on that which they want to create in their lives. So for me, when I think back to the social anxiety, as a child, I was dropped into many different schools with many new friends. So the social anxiety began for me as just a way of living and being. I didn't really realize it until it started to have a larger impact on my life when I was a teenager and I began to make choices about avoiding big classrooms and avoiding those difficult spaces where I felt like everybody was talking about me. What if nobody likes me? That was a big part of my patterning as a child. Self-acceptance and acceptance of others. I didn't even have, there wasn't a word for social anxiety. It was just a way of being.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you give me a bigger picture now of my own social anxiety, and it was very much the same. I dreaded going into the classroom. I dreaded the being with groups of girls that were popular. I didn't feel I fitted in. I didn't fit in, and I too just realized by you sharing that that there wasn't really a label for it back then. And I'm in my later 50s. And so that makes a lot of sense. I think we're around that same type of generation where we couldn't label what we were experiencing.
There wasn't an opportunity. You were simply told to stand up at the board and mark your answer down. And if you didn't
Yeah.
know the answer, well, then, you know, sit down. And then one of the smart kids got up,
I
reading out
remember
loud,
that.
all of those things. There was little compassion.
Hmm.
I think in those days everyone was expected to fit in and be and act, learn the same way, act the same way, and conform. And I think anyone who didn't fit that obviously would struggle. And I think that was I remember that from my days, certainly.
Oh yeah. So it's
Oh
it's
gosh.
not gender specific or country specific. It's human specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit, Nick, about your experiences?
Well, I mean, certainly, certainly with social anxiety, I think there's, I was a very quiet child. I think, I often think, was it nurture or nature? Looking back at my years, but I think I was definitely a very quiet child from even from the moment I was sort of born. I was naturally a quiet child, very introverted, but and I'm dyspraxic, and I think I just was very quiet at school. And I think that there was a few things that happened with my younger years. My father left when I was about 4, and I think that's affected me. That's more of my brothers. Maybe that's just an individual thing. But I think I did really struggle to make friends easily at school growing up. And I think that when you do struggle to make friends and fit in, then I think so I went through bullying, and I think you obviously, if you don't fit in and have a big group of friends, that can help, that can increase chance for that. And I think social anxiety sort of became something that like I said, from when I was very young, I became I had anxiety, in socially, at school and then outside school, and it was not very easy or natural for me to make friends. And I really struggled with it, and it wasn't, I would say, till I was sort of maybe 30s, late 30s, when I really sort of overcame it and put things in place and sort of challenged myself and overcame it and grew my confidence. But it took I would say, a long time. I really struggled at school, certainly, social anxiety. And even when I went through university, my nickname at the university was Shifty, which I don't know if you know the word in England's a word which sort of which means someone who's a bit like a criminal, a bit sort of acting a bit. And because I used to walk down a corridor looking down, so my nickname. And when I left, I went to university and came back, and I moved to London. I struggled at work. If you got social anxiety, being in group situations, with a lot of people, having to speak in front of other people, form those relationships, it was just something that definitely held me back, and it caused me a lot of, I think anxiety is a word there. Yeah, I mean, it really did make me anxious. It caused me sort of stress being in social situations. It was
yeah. And did either you experience, like, when you had these social anxiety, were they more like an attack or like a gradual kind of thought pattern that kept repeating in your head? I'm not good enough. I'm, everybody's looking at me. The kind of things that come to me when I was struggling with myself as a child was nobody wants to include me. I felt excluded. When I was really little, I had the label of being shy because I was always hiding behind my mother. So I think it comes from, like, my granddaughter's like that, right? My granddaughter will stay with her dad and hide with him until she's comfortable to come out. And then I've met other children, little children around the same age as her, and they just come running into your arms and they're all over you. And so I see my behaviors as a child in my granddaughter, and I'm like, well, what can I do to make her feel more comfortable? And one of the things I thought about was when I saw a friend try to pick up my granddaughter without allowing her space, she freaked out. She didn't want anything to do with being picked up. She didn't want anything to do with, like, cuddling or sweet talk to her. And I was watching this unfold, and I was like, whoa, why can't we just give these children some space until they're ready to come forward? And so that's what I do with my granddaughter. Even though she's my blood, I still find it in my heart to be compassionate, like Nancy was saying, to allow her to come forward to me when she's ready. What do you guys think about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
go ahead, Nick.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with being some people are naturally shy, some people are and some people are more, they're introverts, extroverts. That people are naturally more confident, and there's nothing wrong with obviously being shy by nature. I think you said, Annette, I think a lot of the time it is, not always, but it can be relate to lack of confidence, and it is those words of doubt. And I think where that's, I think that the shame of it, where it's a shame where it's a lack, it's because of that reason, because there's no real reason to have social anxiety. I mean, we shouldn't feel that need to be anxious in social situations. And it is often those words, those classic words of doubt, and self-criticism, perhaps, lack of confidence. And certainly for my experience, partly for me it was, but yes, I can definitely relate to what you say there, Annette. Well, I don't know, what do you think, Nancy? Do you?
Oh, we do not allow people space to come. We walk into a situation and we're inundated and we aren't given that. And because I work with people and animals, I'm able to see how animals behave.
Oh, I think we might have lost Nancy. Her audio's no. Your audio's gone again. Oh, dear.
I think
you might have to go back out and go back in. Sometimes there's, the internet is a wonderful thing at times, but other times it's complete torture because it's, you get what you get.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, always part of the challenge.
And what she was sharing was so important.
And I was hooked as I was listening away.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, yeah, this giving space. Now, interestingly enough, I grew up in an English family. Well, Canadian, but from English background.
Okay.
I was adopted at a very young age, and the style of life, like the culture of our family, was you don't touch, you don't hug, you you never say I love you, and there was always this sense of don't I'm not part of the family. And I don't know if that kind of gave me a background to me behaving the way I did with other people until I married
Sure.
into then I married into a Spanish culture. Wow, the difference of black and white, like totally,
Sure.
totally different. Oh, here's Nancy again. So we're going to come back to you, Nancy. I'm just going to finish my little story here. But the total difference of coming from the Canadianized culture and the Latin was such a shock to me. Like they looked at me like I had two heads. Well, you don't hug, you don't say hello, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
They're very social, outgoing people, right? And so I saw a totally different environment, a totally different mindset and attitude about being social. So I just embraced it like wholeheartedly, and it made such a big change in my life for me. I started to come out of myself. So Nancy, do you want to get back to sharing with us about what you were saying about space? And then Adam has a question. I'll show it in a second.
Absolutely. Animals, you come up to them, you do it slowly, you do it carefully, you put your hand out. If they growl, you step back. It's the same thing with a small child, like you were saying. We all have those different phases and levels of comfort. And once we realize that we're uncomfortable in a situation, we can make adjustments for ourselves. The more we make adjustments for ourselves, the more our compassion increases. And then once our compassion increases for ourselves, then we can offer that for others. I will show up at an event early. That helps me. I will, when I'm speaking on stage, you'll often see me in bare feet. It brings comfort for me, for grounding, those different things. I have got so many tools that I use for myself, but everybody's different. So it's about finding what works for you. And sometimes it's just by seeing someone else and then asking just that little question, this is what I'm struggling with. Is there anything you suggest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you nodding your head there, Nick.
Yeah, no, I thought the comfort thing's interesting. Yeah, no, it's because if you're comfortable being the quiet one in the room, or say for example, then if you're comfortable with your being quiet, that's fine. If you're not, it's what you're comfortable with, and being comfortable in the situation, that's an important thing. I think that's something. I think that's a very good point there. I think with me, I wasn't comfortable, and that's why I knew I had to change it, because it's an uncomfortable feeling in social situations. But I think it's a good point, Nancy. I resonate with what you say about.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put up Adam's question here because it's a very good question. And a long time ago, when I was coming through all my mental health issues, I studied a book called on anxiety, a workbook on anxiety, because I struggled with a lot of anxieties. And they describe the difference between anxiety and paranoia. And I think the paranoia, for me, my definition between just anxiety and paranoia, is when anxiety sometimes isn't crippling, but paranoia is crippling. Like you could be housebound, you could be where you become mute, where you won't talk. I think that's a whole different level. Thankfully, I never suffered from paranoia. Did either of you? What's your feedback on Adam's question?
It's very interesting because I would never have thought I'd ever suffered from paranoia, but I suppose looking at it, I suppose when I went through severe social anxiety, I did have those questions. Do people, look not like me? Do they look down at me? Will I not be good enough? And I go, if you think of it logically, there's a sort of almost, you could almost say there's a paranoia aspect to the way that think people are thinking negatively about me all the time. Look at it. So I can see Adam's point, that so severe anxiety, you could say that
that becomes crippling.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. What about you, Nancy? What's your take on that?
The paranoia and the anxiety together. No, I had to think about that for a few minutes, and then memory and spirit helped me along the way, because a lot of times when we are struggling with anxiety, especially social anxiety, I think of Russell Brand, and he talks about it openly, how he used to have to drink in order to get onto stage. Many of the successful speakers of time will speak to that, how they had to have a few drinks, a couple glasses of wine before they got on stage. It happens to many people when they're singing karaoke. And then I thought back to paranoia, and I experienced paranoia when I was a drug addict. So that was quite different. And that was the paranoia of, will people know? Will I get caught? And it wasn't like I was out in public using, but it was that after, will people know what I have done? When will I be found out? So a very different feeling, but I can see how they do have a commonality. That's a very extreme level of anxiety.
Yes. Well, the definition on the internet is thought. Paranoia is the thought process believed to be heavily influenced by anxiety or fear, often to the point of delusion or irrationality. And it's instinctual thought process to be believed to be heavily influenced by anxiety, suspicion, fear, and can be based on beliefs, conspiracy things. Everyone is out to get me kind of thing. And I could see where that would be a social anxiety thing, because if you're picturing the day you step outside your door and the mailman's out there, he's like, oh my God, he's a threat. So you're kind of delusional that this simple man who's trying to make a living and bring you your mail could be attacking you. And it could come from mostly from a trauma. Okay, I can use myself as an example. Maybe each of you would have an example as well, but my paranoia or social anxiety, I've never been diagnosed with paranoia, so I'm not sure if I ever had it, but the level of degree of me being able to be safe around men because of my abuse was to the point where, I could literally feel myself withdraw and fear that they're going to harm me, even though I don't even know this person. They're not going, they seem safe, but and then in my mind plays these games sometimes with me, that because he's homeless, like I saw a homeless man walking around the street here with a cart the other day, and I immediately had this kind of mini panic attack that, what's he doing in the neighborhood? Is he going to hurt me? Is he following me? And oh my God, I was like trying to walk away and not allow him to follow me and things. So I guess maybe that's a little bit of paranoia.
I think it's probably, I think with the, with like anxiety, extreme social anxiety. I mean, if you think about it, I think there is, even if you've got, had experiences which have led to you having the social anxiety, the actual anxiety, it's not there's no rational reason for anxiety. Whatever your experience is, there's no expectation that the situation you go in socially there's no reason for you to have anxiety. It's not a objectively logical thing to expect that people won't like you, or obviously, and I think that's one of the things. It's this over sort of sensitized view of what might happen. Anxiety is often a heightened, oversensitized view of what might happen or what people might think in that social situation. But yeah, it's I think it's so I think relating it to sort of a paranoia of sort of worrying what might happen, or extreme to what happened or what people might do. And if you think about it, it's not a very logical thought of it's unlikely. And I think that's the thing. It's a heightened, sensitized sort of thing, and I think it relates to social anxiety in a way. It's we go into a social situation and we get heighten ourselves up into this anxiety, but other things that realistically probably won't happen and shouldn't happen. So it's
it's like the probability
learning
of it not happening is greater. What were you saying, Nancy?
Learning to self-regulate yourself into a supportive mindset, or self-regulate yourself into having a supportive friend with you when you go to an event, finding those ways. Having a support system can help you so very, very much. Eventually, with a support system like a parent for a child, once you become more comfortable, then you can take small steps in big amounts to do it yourself, so that you're able to be in that situation comfortably. I think of Nick and the masterful work that he does with social media. I mean, I remember when I did my first post, that terrifying, oh my God, how can I even do all of these things? And then getting a little bit more comfortable. Okay, I did it once. I've succeeded. Remembering where you succeeded and then bringing that into. So if you can bake cookies, then you're creating. So to remember what you have done and bring that onto the stage of whatever it is that you're creating. Life is creating. I see it as that often.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I have another question from one of our viewers. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you? She says, do you think anxiety and self-awareness are a joining factor to the fear of others liking us? Anxiety and self-awareness are a joining factor. Fear. What do you guys think of this question? I'm kind of pondering it for myself.
Well, I think in essence, I'm not 100% sure how, if I corrected what Liz was asking, but I think, I mean, we all want to be, I think one of the basic human needs is acceptance. We want to be accepted in our the groups we exist in, and being accepted and respected and liked. I think it's part of our innate human needs. And so going the opposite of that, of fear of people not liking us, not being accepted, not being respected. I think that's it's normal. Everyone to an extent has those thoughts at times. We all want to be accepted, we all want to be liked and respected, and at times we worry. If we start a new job, will we fit in? Will like us? If we meet new friends. So I think it's just anxiety is the extreme form of that. But I think
coming to terms with what it is about yourself that you want to share with the world, knowing very clearly what it is that you are not willing to become a part of is a huge aspect of it as well. There are certain people that if they are accepting of me and what I am doing, I know I'm not working in the right direction of my dreams. So I think that there is a joining factor, and knowing that self-awareness, knowing
Yeah.
what I want
Yeah,
to be accepted
Elizabeth says
for.
the point of the question is to ponder the anxieties. So,
Yes.
from my experiences over time, doing the self-love exploration that I've done for myself, the anxiety lessened. So I think where I'm going with this is the more I was self-aware of my anxieties, the less I had the fear of others liking me. I liked myself enough to no longer worry about the judgment of others. And that's huge when you suffer from anxiety, because anxiety is telling you you're not worthy enough. You don't have enough confidence. You lack self-esteem. It's telling you all these negative things that you're believing. But once you have that self-awareness that you are worthy of having friends and socializing and, getting on that stage and just making people like, wow, wow them with your performance and your talk. And, being a boss for a big high corporation and being able to talk to your employees and not stutter and things like that. I think self-awareness is key to getting through your anxieties. Absolutely. And yeah, like Nick says, it's the whole thing of our basic need as human beings is we want love and we want to be loved, which includes being liked.
Yeah, I think so. Self-awareness is part of our personal growth in life and personal development. Self-awareness is key. The more we understand our own strengths and but also perhaps areas where we've of areas that hold us back. Things which the more we are aware of what areas we struggle with, but things we do well in, and what we like doing, what we don't like. Well, it's knowledge is power, and I think knowledge in this case is self-awareness. It gives us power to move forward and reach our potential in life. I think definitely self-awareness is a really powerful thing, and I think in a journey of self-improvement in life, that which I think everyone in life wants to improve themselves and develop themselves and move forwards. And I think self-awareness is a key part of that. Yeah, and the more we understand ourselves, and the more likely we are to reach those goals we want to. So
yeah, Elizabeth says that we all got the question, so we get a gold star from her. It was a great question, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. I don't know the first name of Believe in Yourself, who's joined us through YouTube, but she's brought up something very interesting about anxiety. Like, what is it about a fear of being liked or not liked? First of all, she addresses. And then she talks about how anxiety can be weaponized as psychological warfare, self-awareness together with self-acceptance, self-love. And, I want to touch on that a little bit, because we are each mentors, authors, speakers, and we bring out and give knowledge of what our experiences to help others. So, can anxiety be weaponized? Well, media does feed on our fears, first and foremost, and I'm not shy to speak about that. And also, our families unconsciously can feed on our fears, but it's our responsibility. This is how I deeply feel about myself. It's my responsibility not to buy into that, right? Self-love is the key to that. And I thank you so much for stating that stuff. But we're all in charge of not allowing the media and others to grow our anxiety.
yeah, I think following what you said, I mean, certainly, yeah, there's interest one to weaponize. I mean, I think I agree. The media potentially, it could be said, uses certain techniques to make to create anxiety with the types of stories it shares, the type, and the type of problems we have in society in the world and how it affects us. Yeah, is it a true perception of the world we live in? Of it, does the media portray reality, or is it, is it a certain perspective and things? But there could be said that, yeah, I agree, the media deliberately, potentially, or does create a state of anxiety through the types of stories it shares. I think that's certainly interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic off of social anxiety.
Topic, yeah.
But this is Robert. He's a long-term guest, and he's been in conversations with me on many shows, and he always has a very interesting topic to talk about in each subject. And the thing I find most about anxieties, social anxieties, is what do you like? There's those triggers, and I always say, be cautious of what I'm talking about, because it could trigger somebody. But there's those triggers, and triggers are there to sell, right? When you see that commercial come on television and it triggers you with an emotional response, that's why I'm big on educating people about, oh, Nancy's back. I'm so big on educating people that learn not to buy into everything and don't waste your money on it, because just like, insurance companies and what do you call it, security companies, they sell you fear that somebody's going to break into your home, and they're making millions off of this. But what's the likelihood of you being broken in on? I mean, there's how many people on the planet, and if you were to do statistics, right, how many people actually been broken in over your lifespan? So yeah, there's a big, if you want to call it, warfare on anxiety, but it's us looking after our mental health, helping to end these stigmas that give us strength in numbers. Like I'm glad that you're both on here. What's your take on this? I'll go on and on.
Marketability of fear, the marketing of fear. I mean, that's a big one. If you're not afraid of something, just turn on television and wait for a few commercials.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of it. It's rampant. It's absolutely rampant, and it happens. I mean, there's a shortage every day of something. We can go back to toilet paper a few years ago, and then chicken, and then pork, and then there were the carrots. There's always a shortage of carrots. Got to be careful with carrots. There's always something. And then you're going to get old, and no one's going to love you. And I mean, pick one.
I think going back, sort of, if you look at social media, there's this big thing of the fear of missing out, the FOMO, and comparing ourselves. And I think, there's been some research. Obviously, social media, it's increased us comparing ourselves, and are we missing out on a certain quality of life? Are we achieving what we should be achieving? Are people doing more, but having a better life than us? And I think they can. This is. I think this can increase at some level. A certain social anxiety, because we're less living this independent world. Everything's so interconnected, and I think we're in some ways bombarded with information on and everyone's sharing their lives and what they're doing, and it's a bit of a fake perspective. We know it's not really. People often post different version of actually what the reality is, but I think there is something there, isn't it? How we does sort of does that help our mental well-being? Are we more anxious? Because we're constantly bombarded with sort of social media of how we should be living, how everyone else is living.
Yeah. Well, with you, Nancy, and you talking about 10 timesing your joy, I guess a lot of people with social anxieties can't find a lot of joy in their life. Can you share a little bit on that?
It's about understanding the power of we say positive so often, but expansive emotions. So joy is the ultimate joy, bliss, all of that wonderful, that feel good feeling. Hope is exponentially powerful as well. Hope, resilience, looking at the possibility. When we look at the probability of things, that's where anxiety comes in, because there's a probability that something wrong is going to happen.
Yes.
There's a
Good
probability that
point.
you can get in a car accident. Huge probability. Really? Is it? There's a mass possibility that you can make it safe. Mass possibility. How many times have you safely driven to work? But when you get in a car
How many times
accident,
have you safely walked down the street? I mean,
yeah, yeah, right? So if you think about the possibility and reframing your thoughts, that's something that takes a lot of practice to reframe your
yeah.
thoughts. It's possible that you'll meet a new friend as you're walking down the street. But then we can go right back to that same thought that you had. It's also possible a homeless man could kidnap you.
Hmm.
So which
Yeah.
thought feels better? Which
Oh, absolutely.
thought
The first.
feels
That's the
better?
thing. They're both possible, but which one do you give the time to? It's like that, isn't there? The story of
Yeah.
you know, who you're feeding the wolf. You know, which, you know, both
Yep.
everything you do, there could be a good outcome or bad outcome. You know, so you could make a walk down, and a homeless person could kidnap you, or they could do something outstanding kind to you. And I suppose
Yeah.
both are possible, both scenarios all the time. But it's which do you give the most time to, you know, in your mind, you know. And I think that for me, when for a long time I was going to situations and imagining the worst situation. So I was imagining, well, what if they do this? What people say that? What if that happens? And you know, imagining the worst outcome, the worst scenarios. And then you know, I realized, well, I've that, you know, that may happen. You know, you never know what's going to happen. You know, good or bad outcome. But I thought, I'm not going to, you know, if it happens, it happens. I was going to, you know, try to change my, less trying to predetermine what's going to happen before it happened. You know, before going into situations, I was determining how it all happened in my mind. So for me, that's why I decided less predetermined and create these scenarios and stories in my mind for whatever happened. And that's
Yeah.
only one thing that helped
Yeah.
me.
A lot of times when I was going through my therapy, it was, you know, what are you focusing your thoughts on? Right. And, the more I focused on wanting to have a better life, then the social anxiety parts, like the fear of, what others think of me, the fear of going up on stage and talking, they became less and less. So what did you practice, Nick, to when you were in your 30s and where you are today? What did you practice as self-care, as self-love that helped you get through those anxieties?
I Yeah, I mean, I think I got to I was getting to a point in my life where I knew that it was obviously holding me back, um, in my work, but also socially, with relationships, and you know, in friendships and relationships I wanted in my life. So I knew I had to do something. I was like, it would just carry on. Nothing would change unless something changed. So I think for me, I two things. I challenged myself. I forcibly challenged myself to do things which I've been avoiding. So I put, I knew I had to go put myself in those situations that I would avoid if I'm hard. But also, I think, yes, I tried to change my thinking to, well, even if, you know, who knows what will people think, you know, who knows what, you know, will happen in that social situation. But if people do think that way, sort of, so what, you know, it was a very hard process for me to do this. But I did have some coaching and therapy, but it was about changing my mindset to, you know, so what, you know, at the end of the day, the only power I have is is how, you know, how I react and you know, my own thoughts is the only thing. So it's just, you know, yeah, so what, you know, if a worst case scenario does happen and people don't like me or people say bad things or whatever, so, you know, so what, you know, it doesn't, at the end of the day, only I can, how I interpret it, how I react to that is the one thing I have under control. So that's what I did.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I remember saying to myself, if somebody doesn't like me, that's their loss.
exactly, 100%.
Oh, you, Aunt Nancy, same question. What kind of helped you get through those social anxiety moments?
Like when we get on a plane, you're going on a plane, you're going to the airport, right? You're imagining the plane. Is it going to be on time? Is it going to be late? Which one do you want more so? As Nick was saying, which one's going to make you feel better? Are you going to feel better imagining the plane late? If that is your constant thought, well, you know, then you're going to be all amped up and you're all going to be worried. You're going to change the amount of enjoyment that you have with the flight. If you're worried,
Right.
then you can go early. There are so many things that you can do to change the outcome. So many things that you can do. You can wear something that makes you feel more comfortable. The clothing that you choose has a huge impact on the way that you feel. For me, it's crystals. I wear crystals. I carry crystals. Same with essential oils. I'm the one that walks into the room and everyone's like, what's that? Me. I'm the one that's soaked in
Yeah.
lavender and lemongrass and patchouli and whatever else it is. It's going to give me some calmness. But what if everybody doesn't
Yeah.
like the way I smell? Well, then they can leave. There's a door.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't adjust for the world, nor do I expect the world to adjust for me.
Yes. Very
I'm
good
much
point.
more compassionate towards others. I'm much more compassionate towards others as well. So
Yeah.
we got ourselves trapped once again during the lockdowns with more anxiety. So here we are on the other side, with much more space between people often, but we can
Yeah.
begin to reach out to each other, offer more support to someone. When you enter a room and you see that someone else is socially anxious, it's a great opportunity because they're the person that might be the most welcoming. So nice to know that somebody else
Yeah.
is in the room feeling the same way. Find a
Yeah.
friend.
I noticed social anxiety can get to the point of just simply, if I smile at a stranger, they cannot smile back and they avert their eyes. Like even that simplest thing, I think for me is a definition of anxiety, social anxiety, that we're part of the whole thing about having your phone in the hand all the time, and you know, you can relate to your phone better than you can relate to people, and there's got to be a fine balance there. So let me get each of you to tell what it is you're up to now. Like, are you writing any books, any shows, you know, speaking anywhere, you know, where people can contact you? And if there's something upcoming that you want to share with somebody to go to, or how to reach you, please share that now. And you take the floor, Nick.
Thank you. Yes, if people want to reach out to me or find out a bit more what I do, look at my website, nickronald.com, which has got about the books I've written and some of the events I speak at, or secretinfluence.co.uk, which is my Secret Influence brand website. I've got a YouTube channel, Secret Influence TV, where I interview people to share their stories, their expertise, to inspire and empower people. But yeah, I'm always I'm writing. I've written a couple of books. I'm writing. I love writing. I'm writing a couple of play scripts at the moment. I'm writing a book of short stories. So, and I'm writing another book about influence, which is my pet subject. I love writing and talking about. But yeah, if you Google me, lots of stuff comes up. It's easy to find out what I'm up to. But yeah, my website's the main way. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you, Nancy?
Website, same way, exponentialjoy.com. And the podcasts that I have are on Sunday evening, What Matters Most. And that's on my own Exponential Joy YouTube channel. as well as on the Mental Health Warriors on Mondays is Recover Your Joy. They're distinctively different. The Sunday night show is a lot more about spirituality and the special people that have impacted my life and the lives of those who I've been blessed to be able to share with. The Mental Health Warriors Recover Your Joy, I'm excited to meet new people with that. On Monday, I'm talking about transitory greatness. And that's a big talk
So
about
your show's
empathy
on
and
Monday with
respect.
the Warriors?
Yeah, Monday at noon, my time. So that's 6 p.m. London
Yeah.
time. Boy, those
Yeah.
time change, those,
Are you
oh
doing it
boy, that's a
weekly?
challenge. Weekly, yeah. Weekly
Very
until
nice.
January, and then I'm gonna get some in the can while I go traveling so that I don't have to worry about finding an internet signal in Mexico. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, you can always go back in the previous recorded um, YouTube ones, and you can, ask some of the guests that I've had on, have them, they love getting on and helping out with the mental health. And, all of us have
Thank you.
various people who've been on. Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I
Or my
will.
friends
So,
on Facebook, you'll see a lot of them. And they'll want to
okay.
participate.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. It's been
Because
fun.
it's interesting.
I've met some wonderful people on the Mental Health Warriors channel. Like I really have. And I remember when I was on the Halloween special and I was sitting next to Ken at the time, Christopher Roche. He was dressed up as Ken, and I'm working with him. I'm working with him in accountability, and wow, we've got a good group work is wonderful, and that's one of the things that I'm creating are group workshops for people so that we can get more people together here
Yeah.
virtually, and then that can expand out into smaller pods personally. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I've started watching these programs by, hold on, let me look them up here. Mindspring, and you just sign up for them, and they give you topics on mental health and like boundaries, IQ, the art of healthy relationships, understanding arachnophobia, people who don't see
Wow.
mental illness as needing help for their mental illness, like amazing stuff on this Mindspring. So if neither one of you have heard of it, check it out. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying their courses, and they give you a little
Mindspring.
certificate after.
Mindspring.
Mindspring.
Okay, I'll check out. Thanks.
Yeah. So, well, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys were amazing. And guests, thank you for tuning in. Elizabeth, Robert, Adam. I think there was one more, but I can't remember who. I really appreciate all your questions and feedback. And you guys, you know, bringing this out just raised like another show for me, because social anxiety is tied into so many things. And I think the more we bring like the self-care part of my show is about, I'll have to sit back and, I get people to reflect. One of the things I love to do is pull a card from my little deck here. It's called Because I Love Myself. So this ties right into about social anxiety, because this card came out and I thought I must share this today. So it says, tomorrow is bright. I allow myself to feel optimistic about my future. The journey of my life rolls out before me, a mysterious discovery of co-created adventure. So we have just co-created the ability for people to, if they're not getting help for their social anxiety, please do so. Talk with, you're welcome to message any of us and talk to us. Find a therapist or coach, life coach. They help with anxieties as well. And my next show is December 3rd, and it's all about art and how art helps us with our mental health. So I'm really, really looking forward to having that one. A friend of mine who's going to be helping me do fundraising, Candace, is going to be talking with me about this specific topic. And I'm really, really excited about it because art is my passion.
Great. I look forward to seeing it. So,
All right.
Yeah.
So thank you again, guys. And I hope people reach out to you. And what is Robert says, the mental health warriors, didn't the creator already to this create woman? He's laughing. He's making jokes. Oh, thank you.
great.
Adam
Yes, thank
says he
you.
loves us all.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, Nancy. Great to
Great to see you
it's
too.
great to
It
see you.
really is.
And
this is fun.
great to be on the show, Annette. I think, as Nancy said, I mean, it's collaborating, connecting with new people, forming friendships, forming groups, and talking about these issues. I mean, that's the way forward, isn't it? Really, in life, and
Yes.
have these conversations. Be
Our light shines more light. You know.
Of course, 100%.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Together
Thank you
we are
so
greater.
much.
Definitely.
Yes.
Anyway,
we are greater, the sum of all.
It's true. It is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure are.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Take
Thanks.
Have a
care.
great day.
Take care. Thanks,
And
Annette.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Bye.
Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Stay well.